Hello my good people! Today I will talk about the Road Rash series on the Sega Genesis / Megadrive. Plus, I will have a bonus, it's Road Rash for the Sega CD. I will compare them in great detail and give my top 4 as I have finished all 4 games back to back. It took me about a month and a lot of dedication, and I think I can really give an unbiased opinion based on that. When I was young, I had the Road Rash 1 that I purchased used, I guess around 91, and I never had Road Rash 2. However, I got Road Rash 3 brand new at release, and I never played the Sega CD 1 until a few months ago, and to make this big review, hit and miss, compare all of these 4 Sega Genesis / Megadrive Sega CD games. Hope you'll enjoy. Let's talk about the controls first. They're great for each of these games and very similar one to another. I finished all games, but my first impression was that it felt like in Road Rash 2 the bike was sticking to the road more than in Road Rash 1, at least in level 1 with the very first bike. For Road Rash 3 and Road Rash on the Sega CD, who have the same feel, it was the opposite. I felt like it was sliding or drifting a little more than in the other games. Again, it was in the first level with the first bike. Then if we look at the graphics and level variety, in the first Road Rash game, graphics are good, but still somewhat basic, but that's typical for this kind of games, racing games. It has some nice parallax for. The game takes place in California in 5 different locations: Sierra Nevada, Pacific Coast, Redwood Forest, Palm Desert, Grass Valley, and the landscape changes a little bit depending on the level. Mainly you will find variations of green colors and sand for the desert section. The game has 5 levels. The higher the level, the longer the race. Basically, it adds a section to the previous race in each level. And the first level is about 5 miles, and it goes up to about 15 miles in the last level 5. In Road Rash 2, graphics improved a bit and feels less grainy and smoother. And it still has nice parallax for the landscape. The race level system is similar to Road Rash 1, but this time races take place within 5 different states: Alaska, Tennessee, Vermont, Hawaii, and Arizona. A little bit like in Road Rash 1, it's a lot of green in the levels and sand for the Arizona level, but they added a little bit more colors like in Tennessee that has also some brownish yellow color in the background. So a slight improvement, I would say, in graphics. In Road Rash 3, graphics look improved. More vibrant colors and variety were used. It feels like parallax and movement are smoother. Bikers are now digitized. I personally like it, but I know some people prefer the way it looked in Road Rash 1 and 2. I really like the effect of speed and movement at the title screen. This game also has 5 levels, and from California to US states, it is now multiple countries where races take place: Brazil, Germany, Kenya, United Kingdom, Italy, Australia, and Japan. Now each country looks way different and has different colors than each other, on the contrary of Road Rash 1 and 2. Also, instead of 5 different places, there are now 7 countries actually. Depending on the level, you don't always race the same 5 countries. Finally, let's talk about Road Rash on the Sega CD. In this Road Rash, the graphics look like in Road Rash 2, but the bikers look digitized just like in Road Rash 3. There are 5 levels as well and 5 different locations: the city, the peninsula, Pacific Highway, Sierra Nevada and Napa Valley. So again, it's California just like in the first Road Rash, and a few things are similar to the first Road Rash. But I would say this game is the dullest, as each level has green graphics on the side of a road, and it just changes the background a bit from mountains to hills to ocean, for example. The city does not look like a city. It feels like they put a few square building here and there in the fields. There is definitely not a lot of effort here. The music in the original Road Rash felt weird back then, but it's memorable and it fits the game very well. It's usually upbeat and I really like it. In Road Rash 2, it's the same kind of music inspiration. It seems that they try to fit each music to a state, but in a clowny way. And this time, it is not as upbeat. I don't really like it. I think it doesn't fit the game as well as in the first Road Rash. And it can even have some music that makes you sleepy, just like in the Arizona level. Road Rash 3's music style is different than the 2 first Road Rash games, and it's very good. A lot of electric guitars, and it's great for a racing game. They really made an effort to have music that fit each country well. I really like it. Finally, in Road Rash for the Sega CD, Mega CD, there are licensed music from famous bands such as Soundgarden, Pop or Hammerbox. On the contrary to the 3DO game, the music plays when you're racing, in addition to the bike engine sound, so that's very good. So I really like this music. I think it's great if you like this kind of music, and it fits the game very well. I can't play it here due to copyrights. There are some voiceovers in the different 16-bit Road Rash games. For example, in Road Rash 1, there are multiple ones. I would say maybe 5 different ones, and you can hear most of the time it's when you hit someone and this person fall, and also if you hit a car usually facing you, or if you hit an obstacle. The player has some voiceover that's pretty good. As well, when you finish the race, in the 3 first spots, you can hear him saying yeah. However, when you hit a girl like Natasha in Road Rash 1 and 2, it is exactly the same sound as anybody else that is a man. So basically, if you hit Natasha, she's gonna sound just like a man. There is no differentiation. However, in Road Rash 3, the women have a specific voiceover that are different from the men, so that's pretty good. What is funny is that Road Rash CD does not have a differentiation for the women. So for example, if you pick Rhonda, the player, lady, when you hit something, it's basically the voiceover of a guy. So talking about Road Rash CD, the voiceovers are pretty good. Obviously it's CD. However, I think like they could have added one or two more for the player when you crash in some cars or obstacles, because there's one voiceover, but it's kind of a little one. I guess it should have another one that is more like a big voiceover, like when you have a gigantic crash. That would make sense. Otherwise, you have some voiceovers for the animals. So basically, Road Rash 1 only has the cow. It's the same in Road Rash CD. Road Rash 2, in addition to the cow, it adds a moose. And finally, Road Rash 3, they have a good variety of animals with different voiceover for them. Then if we think about the different sound effects, in each game when you hit someone it feels good, it's a good sound. I would say that in Road Rash 3 and Road Rash CD the sound is pretty good when you hit someone, because it feels a little bit like in a beat them up, like in Streets of Rage. So listen just right now the sound for Road Rash 3, Road Rash CD, and now you have Road Rash 1 and Road Rash 2. Road Rash 1 and Road Rash 2, it's pretty good, but it's a different one. As I'm saying, it's a beat them up sound in the 3 and CD. I really like it. Otherwise, the other sound effects that you can have, it's mainly, I would say, in Road Rash 3 that you have a lot of sounds such as the cars that honks at you, and that helps you to not hit them, by the way. And otherwise, you will have in each game the police officer on his motorcycle. It's pretty obnoxious in the Sega CD. It feels like there are cops everywhere on the motorcycle. But that's it for the sound effect. So mainly, I think they did a good job in each of these games. In Road Rash 1, it's possible to make someone fall with one hit, and it's very satisfying. Unfortunately, they changed this for all the following games that now need multiple hits until a biker falls down. However, as I showed previously, cops can't fall in Road Rash 1, but they can in all the other games. In Road Rash 1, AI works good enough, but remains basic. In Road Rash 2, some enemies are coming back at you for a little while, especially after you hit them. It's a nice touch that adds a little more challenge. It is similar in Road Rash 3, but in addition, it also adds some enemies that can swerve in front of you, and some can even bully you. Especially this rider named Lucky Luke that is throwing all kinds at you as well. Road Rash CD is slightly different. If you don't hit enemies, they usually don't come back at you, just like in Road Rash 1. But if you do, they're becoming a little more aggressive and try to make you fall down, like in Road Rash 2 or Road Rash 3. However, there is something very different in Road Rash CD. If you redo a race after being qualified, just to get more money to buy a new bike, the AI becomes very aggressive, and it feels like races are more difficult because the other bikers catch up on you very easily and try to hit you. However, cops are not violent in Road Rash CD. They don't try to hit you like in the other games. The last thing about Road Rash CD is that enemies can make you sometimes fall with only one hit, whereas you need about 3 or 4 hits, if not more, to take them down. It's too much. it takes too long to make them fall. I don't know why it's like that. It feels like a lot of your hits, in addition, do not get registered, or that the enemies dodge your hit. I don't know, that's weird. Another major AI difference between all these games is that in Road Rash 1 and in Road Rash CD, if you do not fall and keep the speed up, you will be by yourself for quite some time until the end of the race. I would say the last quarter of the race, if not the half of the race, you could be just by yourself until the end. It's a little bit boring, and also it works the other way. If you fall at some point, usually early on, it may be impossible for you to catch up with the other racers, and then you may just have to reset your console to avoid wasting time, because you already know that you never managed to qualify and not make much money to get a new bike either. In Road Rash 2, the AI was a little bit improved, making enemies stay on your toes slightly longer, but not much, so a little less boring than in Road Rash 1. Finally, Road Rash 3 is a huge improvement. AI is great. It's smart enough to challenge you, and you have to be on your guard all time, even if you're first. Enemies keep staying close to you. Also, if you fall, it's almost always possible to catch up with the other bikers and make the podium within the 5 first positions. Enemies feel more spread through the whole race. This makes Road Rash 3 the most entertaining game of the series, in my opinion. Now let's talk about diversity. First, weapons. In Road Rash 1, there's only a club. In Road Rash 2, in addition to the club, there is now a chain. In Road Rash 3, on top of the 2 previous weapons, they added even more, such as a crowbar, nunchucks, that are great, both of these weapons, and also chalkstick, mace, and oil cans. These last 3 are kind of worthless. Great point is that you keep your weapon from a race to the next one. Now let's talk about Road Rash CD. Again, it is a little different, as it is a mix of Road Rash 2 and Road Rash 3. You only have the club and the chain, like in Road Rash 2, but you can keep your weapon from one race to the other one, just like in Road Rash 3. In each Road Rash, you earn money at each race, allowing you to buy new bikes that are more powerful. In Road Rash 1, there are 8 bikes. I like how you can scroll from one bike to another one, and bikes look nice. A small description of each bike is provided below it. In Road Rash 2, the menu was changed and now offers 3 different categories of 5 bikes each. So far, from 8 bikes in Road Rash 1, now we have 15. Ultralight bikes category, super bikes category, and finally the nitro bikes category. The nitro bike is something new. Basically, it takes a bike from another category and adds a nitro kit. You have a description to each bike, just like in Road Rash 1, as you can see on the screen. However, I think that the bike's illustration is pretty ugly. I really prefer the look of Road Rash 1 in this area. In Road Rash 3, they took the same menu system and slightly improved it. There are still 3 categories with 5 bikes each, but the names have changed to rat bikes, that is kind of the ultralight bikes, sport bikes, so the same name as in Road Rash 2, and finally super bikes. And in super bikes there are some bikes with nitro, so it kind of replaces the nitro bikes category. There's a new category that has been added for upgrades with parts. There is still a description for each bike. The illustration looks better than in Road Rash 2 for the bikes, but I still prefer the Road Rash 1 look. I like the fact that it shows to the left of the screen which category the bike is in. The new upgrades category allows you to tune your bike with improved parts, such as tires and suspension, or protection and performance parts. It can help you improve your bike for reasonable money, especially if you don't have enough cash to buy a new bike. You can really feel the changes while racing. It's a very cool addition to the game, I really like it. It also shows where the part goes on the bike, nice touch. In Road Rash CD, you literally go to a motorcycle shop named Oli Scooterama. There are 3 categories named the same as in Road Rash 3, and the menu presentation is kinda similar, but as it is on the Sega CD, there is a little video animation to show each bike. That's pretty cool. After that, you'll see a bike description and some humor, if you don't have enough money to buy it. Also, there is a description for each bike category that was not in previous Road Rash 2 and 3. However, the upgrades category from Road Rash 3 is not in this game, unfortunately. In Road Rash 1, there is only one type of car, a sedan, that is either in white or yellow, and that's it. The colors are not even mixed, meaning that in some level, it feels like cars are only white or only yellow. Otherwise, if you see both colors in a specific level, you have cars following each other that have the same color. So it's never mixed, it's never a white car followed immediately by a yellow one. It never happens, as you can see on the screen. So the cars in Road Rash 1 are pretty basic. In Road Rash 2, it's a little bit like in Road Rash 1. You will see cars the same color following each other. So you see we just passed one white car, another white car, and another one. And this time it's a blue car and another blue car. However, here you have a blue car and a white car. So there's a little bit of mix, but it's not common. And on the contrary, in Road Rash 1 it was always the same colors of cars. You can see in Road Rash 2, instead of yellow cars you have blue cars and still white cars, so not a lot of improvement. Cars are still the same looking sedan like in Road Rash 1. Road Rash 3, it's a huge improvement in the cars diversity. So you can have standard cars, station wagon, coupe, convertible, SUVs, even the cop car can be a SUV, trucks, and they look realistic. They really did a good job, and they even honk at you, and they have a different horn sound depending on the car. So good job on this. Finally, in Road Rash CD, it looks a little bit like in Road Rash 3. You have a good variety of cars and trucks, with the standard cars, the coupe, the convertible, and in this Road Rash it has a top down, whereas in Road Rash 3 it looks like if it was not the case. You have also a lot of flatbed trucks. There are a few in Road Rash 3, but here it seems that it's the main vehicle in this game. And it seems like there is not really SUVs, if any, whereas in Road Rash 3 they have some. At the end, Road Rash 3 has the most diverse vehicles, followed by Road Rash CD, and finally Road Rash 1 and 2 only have 2 each. Road Rash 3's development team really worked hard to make the game more entertaining than previous entries, and to introduce new varied elements such as jumps on the side of a road, and also adopting the correct way of driving depending on the country you're riding. Therefore, in the UK, Australia and Japan, You have to be careful and adapt your habits and driving skills to avoid a frontal collision, as cars come from the right side. Unless you come from one of these countries and you finally have a game that feels right according to what you used to. However, they messed up for Kenya, because Kenya is one of these countries driving on the left side, so meaning the car would come to the right side for a frontal collision, and they didn't do it correctly. So in the game, as you can see, Kenya shows that people are driving on the right side, like in the US or Germany, for example. So technically the development team didn't do a job that good, actually. Alright, anyhow, it doesn't change the fact that the game is pretty good. All 4 Road Rash games have some animated sequences at the end of each race, except for the first Road Rash, that just has a static image and that shows your position and the money you made. However, when you complete a level in the first Road Rash, there is one animated sequence with you and Natasha. Actually, there are 3 different lengths depending on the level you are and your position. It's a nice touch. In Road Rash 2, they introduce humor, either if you qualified or if you lost. If you got busted by cops or if you had your bike totaled, for example. It's pretty fun. And they did the same thing in Road Rash 3, and they added even more different sequences. In Road Rash CD this time, and because of the CD technology, we have real cutscenes at the beginning and end of each race. It is so digitized and goofy that it makes it cool to watch. Actually, the 3DO, PlayStation and Saturn Road Rash versions have the same cutscenes, however it's a way better quality of image. There is also humor in the text right after the sequences. You always see like what rivals say, or sometimes it can even be cops that say something. There is even humor in some characters' names or cop names. For example, there is a cop in a cop car whose name is Killjoy. All Road Rash games are so well done that even when you fall and that you are on your feet, you can control your character when you run to your bike. And curiously, you can see from the mirrors of your bike as well. It's pretty fun to run around, and you can hit an animal just like if you were on your bike, as you can see. And you can also finish a run on foot. And you have to be careful because if you're in the middle of the road, other cars or riders can run you over. In my opinion, Road Rash CD may be the easiest game of the 16-bit Road Rash series, as you can make your way through level 4 pretty easily, and even with your first bike. There is no cop car in this game, no cop ambush in the middle of the road like it could be in the other games. Even if the game seems unfair, like for example enemies can hit a car and you fall too, like if it was you who hit the car. the hit detection can be weird at times. At intersections, it feels like a glitch when other riders feel like going through a car. Also, it's possible to fall very easily after what was supposed to be just a little slide or a quick touch with another rider, and then you fall. Also, unlike in Road Rash 2 and Road Rash 3, when you use nitro on your bike, you really feel it. So it definitely helps you end a race faster. I'd say that Road Rash 3 may be the most balanced game between challenging and being fair at the same time. You can usually always make it up after a fall, but even without a fall, you need to be alert until the end of each race. There's a good selection of bikes or upgrades that you can utilize depending on your money and levels. It also feels like bikes are easier to control. There is a great level design, no cheap things like in Road Rash 2, but still a lot of items, cups, animals on screen. In my opinion, it might be the second easiest game, but as I'm saying, it's well balanced, it's a great experience in my opinion. Finally, Road Rash 1 and Road Rash 2 are kind of at the same level of difficulty. For me, Road Rash 2 is a little bit more frustrating due to the fact that enemies are more aggressive than in the first game. There are also more random items like construction stuffs on the road, more cops, motorcycle, and cars that are placed in the middle of the street. If it was only the track without all these extra items that are placed poorly, the game won't be more difficult than Road Rash 1. It may even be easier. But so far, I would say that in order of difficulty, Road Rash CD is the easiest, then Road Rash 3, then Road Rash, and finally Road Rash 2. To qualify in a race, you have to finish in the first 3 riders in all Road Rash games, but the first Road Rash. In Road Rash 1, you can finish in the first 4 riders. I like that in Road Rash 1, it shows you what was the position you ended up with after each race, so you can always work on improving it. However, I wish there was some kind of bonus after finishing first in each race of a level. In the other Road Rash games, as mentioned prior, you have to finish either first, second or third to qualify in each race. However, as soon as you qualified, it shows it, but you don't know which position you ended up with. Also, if you don't qualify, nothing shows. I'm not crazy about it. I wish it was a mix between the Road Rash 1 system that shows your position, but I would like that it adds an indication showing if you qualified. Because in Road Rash 1, if you qualified, let's say first, second, third or fourth, you know the position, but it doesn't say qualified, for example. There is no real ending in Road Rash 1, 2 and 3. In none of these games, when you finish your last track in the last level, level 5, you just have a typical end sequence, just like in any level. Well, at the end of Road Rash 1, however, there is this little sequence that you have at the end of each level finished. So I would say this one, it's a full-length sequence between you and Natasha. It's a specific one for Road Rash 2 though, but not much more than a typical sequence. I think it's kind of disappointing. The development team could have made a little effort, I don't know, something to reward you that you've been through all of that. But in Road Rash CD, however, there is a specific cutscene and the message winner, and after that it shows you reign supreme. So it's kind of cool. In Road Rash 2 and Road Rash 3, you can have two players simultaneously on a split screen, and that is a cool addition to the original Road Rash that doesn't offer it, but that still has a two-player mode that is an alternate mode. It's the same thing in Road Rash CD, but it was a little bit disappointing, especially that this game was released kind of at the same time as Road Rash 3. However, Road Rash CD offers two game modes, Thrash mode and Big Game mode. So Thrash mode, as we can see here, it is the arcade version of Road Rash. There is no character selection, no bike shop, no unnecessary gossip, just pick a race and go. You have a choice actually to pick any level you want, so up to the last level, that is level 5. And the other mode is the big game mode, so basically it's the typical mode. You have a selection of bikes that you can purchase depending on the money you made. You start on level 1 and you have to make your way up until the end of the game. Level 5, you have some, we'll see later, some discussion room. It's pretty cool, but you know, at the end it doesn't do that much, to be honest. What we had in the other Road Rash games was good enough, but it's here, that's fine. Bulletin board is actually the level selection. The street is actually what leads you to the store to buy a new bike, and restroom is actually like an option menu. So in the restroom, it's where you can load a game, save a game, you can change your game mode, pick the player mode to be in 2 players if needed, and the level you want to start with if you are playing in Thrash mode. You have the sound mix if you want music or no music, just the sound of bicycles. And finally, jukebox, and in the jukebox you can see the different sounds that are from Soundgarden, for example. You also have Swerve Driver, Hammerbox, just to give you an idea. So you have a character selection in this big game mode, and the funny thing is that all guys except one are 6 feet plus tall, and the other guy is already 5'11", and they have also added 3 girls, so that's a pretty nice touch. And the difference is that you can have a different bike and a different amount of money depending on who you pick. Road Rash CD is the only game of the 16-bit series that offer you a character selection. One thing that is great in this game as well is that there is a save mode. So on the contrary to the other 3 Road Rash that have passwords, this one just save. Let's talk about password system. So in Road Rash 1, the password is so long. Thankfully, they improved it in Road Rash 2 and Road Rash 3. In Road Rash 3 only, there is an interesting kind of mode if you get busted by cops and you don't have enough money to pay for the ticket, or if you wrecked your bike and can't pay to fix it. In this case, you'll see a message from a repo man offering you to help him repo a bike from an opponent. When you start the race, you were given a crowbar, and your job is to find the opponent, beat him down, so the repo man can get his bike back. When it's done, a message appears on screen and the race ends. Then you're back to the normal game. It's a little bit similar if you get busted by a cop with no money. He'll ask you to snitch on an opponent and we'll let you go then. And you'll have to take down this opponent for the cops if you agree. In this new race, you'll see a lot of cops all around the level, more than usual. If you fail, it's game over. Well, if you didn't want to snitch or help the repo man when you were asked the question to help, it would have also been game over right away. Here's a comparison of all dashes. As you can see, except in Road Rash 1, all dashes have a digital speedometer and RPM gauge. Road Rash 3 is the only one that has names at the bottom. I like how Road Rash 3 clearly shows what your position is in the middle of the dash. It's okay in the first Road Rash, I guess. However, I really don't like it on Road Rash 2 and Road Rash CD. I never get used to it when I ride and always looking for this position. My favorite dash is the one in Road Rash 3 because I think it's the cleanest in my opinion. Road Rash, the user interface / menu screens are basic, not intuitive. It is a little confusing between buttons A, B and C as it doesn't show on screen any indication. In Road Rash 2, this was improved. It is easier to understand, even though not that great. Road Rash 3 menus are similar based off Road Rash 2. I previously showed and explained Road Rash CD's hub menu, and I have to say it's a little confusing at first. It's trying to be cool with menu names like restroom for the option menu or bulletin board for race selection, etc. But it adds screens and worthless submenus. For instance, the street menu should have been the shop directly, as it adds an empty extra menu extra step. The schmooze menu, aka the chit-chat room, like I called it, is really just to add some extra worthless crap. It doesn't add any value to the game in my opinion. I get it. They were trying to make something fun, trying to pack as much content as possible, but the user experience ended up being poor nonetheless. In Road Rash 1, the bike menu is clean but basic, and bikes look good. In Road Rash 2, the bike shop now has 3 categories, that is good, and shows an evolution from the first Road Rash. But man, now bikes look terrible. That was a big disappointment for me. Road Rash 3 uses the same menu with some minor changes for names. Bikes still don't look good, but at least it's better than in Road Rash 2. A new category was added to buy parts that would improve your bike performances. It's a great addition to the game. I like it. Finally, in Road Rash CD, it has bikes categories like in Road Rash 2 and Road Rash 3, but it lost the upgrades category. It looks like in a real bike shop and even has some kind of 3D sequences to present each bike. That's well done. However, I'm not too crazy about the cartoonish look of them. It's just my point of view though. It's the same style as the character selection. I think that this cartoonish look doesn't fit the core style of the game. It's not Mario Kart. Here you can see on the screen the credits for the Road Rash series on the Sega Genesis / Megadrive to the left, and to the right is specific for the Sega CD / Mega CD. So it feels slightly different when you play Road Rash on the Sega CD. It's still Road Rash, but I don't know, there's a little feel or something that is slightly different than the 3 other games. And we can see that it's a different development team that worked on the Sega CD. like it's when you start the game it shows a monkey production, and when we look at the names you can see that the original Road Rash, it was done by Dan Geisler, Walter Steen, Carl May, and for the Road Rash CD it's totally different. It's Russ Patterson, Carson Whitsett Jr., and we can see that in the game credit. So you see programming, it's a different team. However, for additional programming for Road Rash CD, you can see additional programming Dan Geisler and Walter Steen, who were in the original Road Rash series, and this extra guy, Warwick Horfield. You can see as well that on top it shows Road Rash credits 143 people. If there are that more people than in a previous Road Rash game, it's because you have all these cutscenes and basically actors. These cutscenes were used for the 3DO, PlayStation and the Saturn version of Road Rash as well. So obviously it increased the number of people working on the game technically, because there was some production work like in a movie, post-production, video cast, and of course the last thing, as we have real bands such as Soundgarden that work on this original soundtrack of the game, if I can say so. Obviously this musician count in the production game credit. Maybe it's because it was a different development team, but Road Rash CD has a bunch of bugs and glitches. I don't have any game capture unfortunately, but it ranges from your character bouncing so far back after just a standard hit, or being stuck after a fall and you can't reach out to your bike. You can also get stuck in or on a car. Also it's rare, but I had a time when I was hit, fell, and slided backwards. It's also possible to have animation skipping a screen. Road Rash 2 has one glitch. It's in the music department. When you are in a menu section, like the track section or the bike shop, you can have some kind of bug that is a slowdown in the music if you skip track or bike real quick. You can also have noise coming up after some time in these menus. Alright, now let's talk about what could be improved, what could have been done better in these games. Let's start with Road Rash CD this time. As mentioned before, this game was done by a different development team and has a certain number of glitches and bugs. This does not come as a surprise that these are a lot of things that can be improved, such as removing all these people that are in the middle of the street or in the middle of the road in each level. It's okay in the city level, but when you see guys in suit in the middle of nowhere, like in Napa Valley, come on. Also, at the finish line, it looks so empty. There's nothing but one single guy holding the flag. It would need more people and stuffs around, I don't know. It looks so lazy in this Frankenstein Road Rash CD game. However, I like the message winner or loser at the end of each race. It could have also been implemented in other Road Rash games, I think. In all these games, you and all enemies look alike. A little variety would have been great, like different sizes and shapes of people, something for bikes and clothes at least, having different colors. Finally, for all games, if there was some kind of challenge or bonus in order to make money faster than redoing races multiple times, that would have been appreciated and add content to these games. In Road Rash 3, after you fail and running to your bike, you can also punch by hitting C. But I try to punch opponents when they fail or if they are just on their bikes, but nothing register. So I don't know if they just left it and didn't have time to really put together some animation when you hit someone, but nonetheless it is here. So my personally ranking of these games is as follows. Road Rash 3 is the best in my opinion. It has a great AI. I like how bikes handles, plus the upgrades that are very good, and the music is a bit, I like it, and the game has an overall great variety. It's challenging but fair, as I mentioned before, and I can say that the development team really work on so many details, such as the map on the back of your jacket at the beginning of a game, showing your next race location, or when you crash into a sign, it shows as being damaged. Then I would say Road Rash 1 is my second favorite, and it was a hit right away, this game. It can be very challenging but not frustrating, or maybe just a little. Then I'd put Road Rash CD. It's a little weird and handled slightly differently than the other entries, but with a reasonable difficulty level, great original soundtrack, and various sounds that balances the glitches here and there. It's a good third for me. Finally, the last one. Fourth position is Road Rash 2. I put it last because it's a frustrating game due to the fact that items are poorly placed on the road, that are difficult to avoid, especially with higher performances bikes that don't handle always well. I think this was a bridge game between the original and the great Road Rash 3. They were trying to improve it, try new things, but for me it fell short on the enjoyment. However, I want to say that if I only had to rate these games only based on level 1, Road Rash 2 would have been my favorite. How weird, right? But a game has to be judged on its integrality, explaining my personal ranking. Again, it took me 1 month to play all of them back to back, and also come back to some of these games for the sake of this video. Here's my final summary. Road Rash was a great entry to the series. In Road Rash 2, graphics are kinda similar, with some smoother parallax maybe, and music feels also very similar to Road Rash 1. However, I feel that it's less good though. A new improvement menu was introduced with a wider bike selections, some that have nitro boosts, extra weapons like the chain, a simultaneous 2 players mode, and a shorter password system. In Road Rash 3, the option menu is kind of the same as in Road Rash 2, with very slight differences. However, there is a big change in graphics that are now digitized. It's well done, but some people prefer the older style. Musics are great and upbeat, and feel more like coming from real instruments. There are even more weapons, and you can now keep it between levels. The password system and the bike selection are similar, but a new accessories, upgrades option was introduced to the bikes. This game has more diversity than any others, such as animals, cars, helicopters for the cops, jumps on the side of the road, international levels, including different sides of the road where you're driving, and the AI is smarter, challenging you more, but in a very fair way. The 2 players mode is like Road Rash 2. Finally, Road Rash CD, that I call it the Frankenstein Road Rash, is curiously a mix between Road Rash 2 and 3, with its digitized graphics like in Road Rash 3, dash like in Road Rash 2, weapons like in Road Rash 2, but that you can keep between levels this time, just like in Road Rash 3. It has a basic AI like in Road Rash or Road Rash 2. However, it's missing a lot of details, like cop cars, people at the end, to name a few, and it feels like it was rushed. The hub menu and the cutscenes are taken from the superior 32-bit versions of the 3DO, PlayStations and Saturn. However, music are great, original copyright protected soundtrack from Soundgarden and other bands. Both bike engine and music can be played while riding your bike, unlike on the other 32-bit versions. Even if this game has a good amount of glitches, it remains a good playable game though. Long gone the password system in Road Rash CD, as this time you can just save your progress. Finally, you have two modes that have been introduced, a story and an arcade mode. No more two players simultaneously, as it is back to one after one, like in Road Rash 1. This video was a chore to make. 4 games compared in detail to one another and capture the appropriate footage was very difficult and tedious. On top of that, it's a lot of notes taken. Look at this. And then summaries to make, put together everything, often returning to a game to verify a specific aspect, and then correcting what I initially thought and wanted to say. This video might not be perfect, but I'm glad it's over now, as it took me so long to arrive to this point. Hope you found it interesting and appreciate all the hard work I put into it. I want to thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share the video if you enjoy the content. In the meantime, have a good one.